right, what do we have in the box here? Well, it's possibly the best shift knob you can get for your Porsche 911. Let's open it up and take a look. Okay, I like this already because it comes with mini waffles. Look at that. So this was shipped from Germany, and the company name is Sportshifters. And we've got one box there and a lighter box here. I've got a feeling one has weights in it and one has the shift knob. All right, we got a tool and a couple fasteners. We'll put that with our waffles. Oh yeah, what a difference. You can feel big difference in weight between these two. And let's see what we got in here. Some more tools, stickers, and here is the shift knob. I don't know if you can see that. It's like perforated leather. And you can spec these things however you want. You can really make them your own with color and material and finish. You go on their website and you can select all different types of options. So this is the way I optioned it for my 991.1. So you can see the 7-speed is listed there, and reverse has the red, which again I selected that. I like the idea of the black leather, and they have cutout windows in the base here that you can option in, but I didn't like that look. So yeah, let me try to learn a little bit more about this and then we'll talk more. All right, so let's look at what we have here. I don't really understand how to swap things out because these are different weighted knobs, but I'll figure it out. We'll go through that when the time comes. But as far as what we received, again, you're gonna go on their website and spec everything the way you want it, but you also have to spec the weight. And in this case, what I ordered was the race model. And then I've got 2 alternate weights here. And the way that happened was that I had reached out to the company. I knew that I was going to order this overseas. There wasn't a lot of presence in the US. I wanted to understand more about the product and what to expect. So before I ordered anything, I reached out and asked some questions. A gentleman named Roy replied back and was really helpful, really responsive, answered all my questions, so I understood what to expect. I knew that when I ordered this was going to take, 4 to 6 weeks, and in fact it took 6 weeks to get it. This is a company that's building to order. These are not sitting on the shelf, and they're very popular. So just know going in, that's the case. So as I'm going back and forth with Roy and trying to understand what I wanted for my car, I told him that, I was even thinking about making an installation video and kind of sharing this knob with the community because I really haven't heard much about it. And I see some activity in the Audi forums, but really haven't seen much as far as the Porsche people. So I told him, I was thinking about doing that. And he said, well, if you're going to do that, let me send you a couple alternate weights. He said, order the lightest. I'll send a couple. You can show that as well. And I thought that was a great idea because installing a shift knob is pretty straightforward. I'm going to either like it or I'm not. But having different weights actually gives me the ability to kind of compare back and forth. All right, so let's look at what we have here. This is what I ordered on the website, and it's the race model, the lightest. This is a weight for the sport model, which is a little bit heavier than race. And then this is Gran Turismo. This is the heaviest. Now I can swap these onto this stem and put this top piece, the coin, on top. So that way I have 3 different weights that I can test out and try. When you order this on the web, you have to choose one, and that's what you get. You can order additional weights as an option or an accessory as a separate purchase, but basically you spec out the knob that you want. And in this case, this is what I did here with the race. The way this works is this part, which is the same as that, screws onto the stem. There's an O-ring in here. So it has this threaded fitting, and if you look, that's got the threaded fitting, but this one doesn't. And all you have to do is just remove those 3 screws and put the threaded fitting on there. So I was sent an extra threaded fitting, which I probably won't need. If you're wondering why this wrench is sticking out of all of these, you can see there's basically an access hole there, but over time the leather is going to try to close up. So they ship it with the wrench there. If it closes up, you can put in a small wrench or something small, get it, kind of work it open if you need to get back in there. All right, so what I wanted to do was weigh all 3 of these. That way we have kind of a comparison, what we can expect. Now, let me just say, 2 of these have the threaded fitting, so they're gonna weigh a little more than this one, or there's more weight on these. This one also has a coin. There's 2 fasteners that hold the coin. So this one has the fitting and the coin, but it is the lightest. So let's look at what it is. 5.6 ounces. This one has the fitting, no coin, 8.2 ounces. This one has no fitting, no coin, 11.9, almost 12 ounces. So considerable difference in weight. This really feels heavy to my hand. I question whether I'll like this. It feels so heavy, but who knows? I'm gonna give it a try. All right, so that's that. Let's go to do the install on the car now. But first, I'm gonna have some waffles with my coffee. All right, we're in the car with the OEM shift knob. You might ask why I want to replace this. I mean, I just never thought that the shift knob was anything special. It doesn't feel particularly great. It doesn't look great. It feels like a lower end shift knob for the price of the car. So that's one thing. But the other thing too is the previous owner, I think, kind of made a little mark on the top of the shift knob. Maybe they had a ring or something, and I just feel it. I mean, it's nothing big at all, but the fact that I feel it, it kind of bugs me because my hand's on the shifter a lot. So that's really why I wanted to replace this. All right, so it's just a couple tabs up top, and then you pull the boot up. There it goes. And then once you've got it here, you should just be able to grab from the bottom and twist. And there it is. And now it's a matter of pulling up. So pretty easy, straightforward to get this out. So I put this back on. I realized that I really wanted to see the height of this before I do the replacement. So I want to just measure this to see what the height difference is between the two knobs. Okay, I measured about 5.5 inches above here with the other one, and that's just over 5 inches. So looks like it's going to be lower by a ½ inch, which is fine with me. That's the lower the better, up to a point. Getting rid of a ½ inch is great. Okay, here's the knob and boot, and the knob's got these little lever connectors like that spring out. Now if I pull on it, they would probably start to come in and maybe separate, but honestly I don't want to break it. And you can see these are flexible, right? So I'm just going to put a little flathead screwdriver on all of these and just slide it out so I don't risk breaking anything. There it goes. Okay, caught on another ridge there, so let's see if we can't just work this out. So I'm kind of pulling on it as I'm pushing on these levers. All right, we got a little further, but again, it caught on something else. Let's keep doing that. Kind of pulling on it with one hand, basically just pushing the knob against the boot. There it goes. Okay. Okay, so I'm back at the car, right? And I'm trying to see how that would work. If I keep that retention ring there, you can see that the base of this shift knob's gonna come in contact with the leather and probably start to wear it on the outside. I mean, because the diameter of the retaining ring is smaller. You can see that. So it's just going to start to wear over there, which I don't want. So my thought is I'm going to remove this retaining ring, and hopefully it's not a one-way trip that I can't put back if I ever need to or want to. So let me take a look at that. Okay, so I'm not sure how these separate. It looks like there's two pieces, this light colored and the black, which is one big piece. I thought maybe there's snaps behind here, but I can't really get in there. So then, just for kicks, I'm trying to raise the white piece by just doing this. And it seems to be coming up. I don't know if it's retained in there in some way other than just this friction fit. But look at it, it is coming up. Okay, so I would imagine this is going to pull down. Okay, there it is. So now we've got no material in there other than the leather, which is kind of what we wanted, right? Because now we'll use this piece, which will come up from below like that. And then the shifter will come and sandwich the leather like that. These grooves are for the seams, but I think the instructions said if you have more than 2 seams, which would have gone right there, use the flat. So the leather gets sandwiched like that. Alright, so we're here in the car. I've got this ring. I need to install this first. then the boot goes over it, then the shift knob. But where do I fasten this? Well, that's going to depend on where I want the shift knob. And in my case, I want to have it as low as possible. So that puts the ring right here. So I need to secure the ring right there. I'll probably leave a tiny gap because the leather gets sandwiched between these two pieces. So let me do that. I'll be right back. Okay, I just snapped the boot in place, and that ring is down here. You can see the bulge, right? Let's see if that pushes the knob up. Yeah, so I want to lower this ring because the leather is pushing the knob even higher. So I want to get as low as possible. So let me do that. Okay, so the shift knob is now down on top of that ring. It sandwiches the leather, and I've tightened the set screw. So that's the final look right there, which I really like. And again, this is the race weight, and we're going to try the Sport and the Gran Turismo. So I'm going to drive it. I'll come back, give you my impressions. We'll swap out the weight, and we'll see what we think. All right, so I just got back from a drive and was able to check out the shift knob for the first time, and yeah, there's quite a difference here. Now, to begin with, right off the bat, you feel that it's lower, and for me, I really like that. It just like ends up in my hand better because of the position of it being lower, and I think the throws feel a little less. It's not quite as long a throw, which is just the geometry of being a little bit lower, but I don't think that's drastic. Now, the other thing I feel is that it's hard to describe, but the way it goes into gear, comes out of gear, transitions from one gear to neutral to another gear, that whole movement just feels a little bit more dampened, which is not the best way to describe it, but it's hard to describe. Like, if you have one of these cars, you know that the shifter is not great because it uses cables. So you've got the shifter connected to cables that go to the transmission. If you compare it to cars that use like a rod, shifting rods from the shifter to the transmission, there's quite a bit of difference. I've never been that impressed with my 996. I tried changing the shifter, it improved, but it's still not like a lot of cars you might be used to. So that, between like the long throws and that kind of tinny engagement that a cable gives you, I like that there's more weight now, and that kind of tinniness goes away, and it seems like a more solid engagement and transition from one gear to another. That's the best I can describe it. And it's got to be just the weight, because again, this thing is 5.8 ounces. No, 5.6 ounces, just the round piece, not the stem. We didn't weigh the stem. That's twice as much as the entire OEM shifter with the stem. So the OEM's 2.8, this is 5.6. So that's a considerable difference, twice as much, and this is the lightest knob. So I'm really curious what's going to happen when I go up one more, go to the Sport, and then we still have the Gran Turismo to try. But I'm liking, I don't know if the Gran Turismo is going to be too heavy, but I'm really liking the difference that this made, and looking forward to see what the Sport knob will do. All right, here's the Sport, and we've got to remove the coin and this base here. So that means I have to remove the threaded fitting to be able to get at the fasteners that hold the coin. Let's look at that. All right, and there are the screws that hold down the coin. Now see, the seam is lined up with the 3 there, so we're going to need to do that on the new one. Okay, so here's the coin. Line up the 3. All right, let's put the fitting back in. Okay, with this all assembled, I want to weigh it. That way we know what the stem weighs, because before we only measured the ball of it, not the stem. And let's see what the entire thing weighs. Again, the OEM is 2.8 ounces. Let's just show you this. 2.8. I mean, it's so light. All right, so this is now 10.9. Huge difference. So this was 8.2 without the stem. So say 2.5 ounces for the stem, because this now has the coin on it. So 2.5 ounces. That means the race was 5.6 and 2.5 is 8.1. So we just came back from a drive with a 8.1 ounce shift knob compared to 2.8. I really liked it because, again, it just felt like those engagements and transitions were just more muted. That part of the action that to me feels kind of cheap and tinny, that kind of got muted. So let's see if the heavier one continues in that direction, or maybe it'll be the same. Let's see. All right, I just got back with a sport shifter. Went for a good little drive, put rev match on, so I didn't have to try to match revs or heel toe, and possibly, if I don't get that right, the car kind of gets disrupted, and I don't want to feel anything other than the shifter. And with rev match, it makes it really easy. So I'm just going up and down and shifted quite a bit for the miles that I put on the car. So I really feel like I have a good impression of this over the race, and it's everything the race is, and even more, like that muted or dampened feeling when it engages, disengages. I feel like it has more of that with this weight on it, and that I like, because it just feels like more of a normal shifter, not this cable action shifter. So it feels more normal. It's still not great. If you want really good shift action in these cars, you have to go to like a numeric shifter and use their cables, and that's the way to achieve really good shift action. But this is better, and to me, I think I'm really gonna enjoy this, because I love that it's lower. I love the feel of it. I love the look of it. It has changed the way the shift action feels for the better for me. So I'm happy with this. I will try the Gran Turismo, but I've got to put the car away right now. It's winter. We've got weather coming in, so I'm not sure when I'm going to get to it. All right, it's been a few days, but I was able to put the Gran Turismo weight on here and take it for a drive. And I have to say, this is the keeper. I'm surprised, actually. I thought maybe it'd be too heavy. I really like the Sport, and I was reluctant to even have to take it out and redo everything and put this knob on it, thinking that I wouldn't like it. But no, this is definitely a keeper. It's clearly, to me, better than the Sport, just because, again, I think what's happening is the weight of this knob is overcoming that engagement action that you feel from the cables. So that movement and action that the cables are making from the shifter back to the transmission, I think just having more mass on the shifter itself is just helping everything. It just feels really much better and much different, surprisingly different. I was afraid that this thing was going to be too heavy. I recall we had a Z3 Roadster in the family. We had, I put a Whelen shift knob on it. Anybody with a BMW, I don't know if you recall that. I don't think they make those anymore, but it was kind of like the go-to mod, one of the mods for that car, because that shift knob was terrible, and the shift action, you know, it just kind of improved everything, the whole feel. I really liked the difference that made, but honestly, that knob was too heavy. And after living with it for a while, I wouldn't have gone back to the OEM. That was much worse. But I always thought, like, I wish it wasn't so heavy. And just for kicks, I just looked it up. That was like close to 20 ounces. So that's how much heavier that was compared to the Gran Turismo. And that would have been too heavy. This is kind of the sweet spot. At least that's what I think right now. So here's my thought. I'm going to keep this on for about a month or so. I want to put some miles. I want to get really used to it, to the point, because again, I'm coming from the OEM shifter, right? So that's my reference. So everything is feeling really good compared to that. And as I go up in weight, it's feeling better and better. But I want to drive this for a while, get used to it, so this becomes kind of that default, the basis that I'm referencing from. And then I'll go back to the Sport, and I'll see if there's any benefit to going a little bit lighter. So anyway, those are my thoughts. I'd really be curious if any of you go out and get the shift knob, what your thoughts are, especially if you've got a 991, but they make these for a lot of different models. So, but yeah, please post if you have comments or any of your reviews and impressions of the knob. So hopefully this video helps.